Rewarding intellectuals is something that should be done regularly in Nigeria to celebrate the hard work that they put into crafting their art. The most prestigious prizes in Nigeria and arguably in Africa, the Nigeria Prize for Science, the Nigeria Prize for Literature, and the Nigeria Prize for Literary Criticism will be awarded at the Grand Award Night today, 14th October 2022 in Lagos. The Nigeria Prize for Science and the Nigeria Prize for Literature come with a prize of $100,000 each. The Grand Award Night is themed Touching the Stars and will feature the announcement of the verdict on the 2022 edition of the Nigeria Prize for Literature, which is focused on poetry. The Nigeria Prize for Literature rotates yearly amongst 4 literary genres: prose fiction, poetry, drama, and children's literature. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo will be the keynote speaker at the event. Joining us on this show this morning as we discuss this year's event is Andy Odeh, General Manager, External Relations and Sustainable Development, Nigeria NLNG. Welcome to the morning show, Andy.
Thank you very much, Ruben. Good to be with you.
Yes, thank you for coming. First, let me confess my bias. I was in the original team of judges for literature for Nigeria NLNG for a number of years. So, I'm converted more or less. So I speak from being an insider, from the position of an insider. But let me ask you, some people have been asking the question, why have you chosen President Olusegun Obasanjo to come and present a prize on literature and be the keynote speaker? I'm not aware that former President Obasanjo writes poetry or literature.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ruben. So, look, for us in NLNG, we aspire, in terms of vision, to be a globally competitive LNG company helping to build a better Nigeria. And the 2 things that are key to us, one is resilience, 2, integrity, and I mentioned these 2. Just one of them is part of our core values. But here we have literature on the one hand, where we are awarding prize today for poetry, and of course science. We announced the winners for science on 15th of September. But Obasanjo, the former president, symbolizes something for us, or 2 things for us. One, resilience, and indeed he is a farmer. Because he's a farmer, the prize for science for 2022 is focused on food sustainability. So that award will be presented today. We thought it wise that for someone who has been farming and who has a farm, very active in that space beyond what he did in the military and as president or head of state, gives him the opportunity, or gives us the opportunity to have him give the keynote speech today. Second part of it, which is literature, you talked about poetry. Well, the genre is poetry indeed, but we also felt that Obasanjo, who has been a writer, also gives us the opportunity to have him speak on 2 things: what literature and science does for development of a nation, where there are gaps and how those gaps can be closed. That is why we have him as a keynote speaker today.
All right. Why a prize for literature? Why a prize for science? Tell us the thinking behind all of this. Why is NLNG on all of this?
If you bring the art and the science together, when they come together, then you have a lot happening in terms of development. And of course, the basic thing in school, they tell you, okay, if you must have maybe a credit in maths and something in literature or English. So for us as a company, having been a very, very successful company, the biggest LNG company in Nigeria, one of the most profitable, well-run organizations in Nigeria, we're in an environment where we think that excellence needs to be rewarded, just like we are an excellent organization in terms of performance. So we thought it wise that, look, there's a gap. If people are not being rewarded for the work they do in terms of literature and in terms of science, we think there's an opportunity to close that gap. There's an opportunity to begin to show the good and the best of Nigeria from those who write, who take their time to write, either running commentaries on what's happening in country, what they feel, or those who are being able to sit down as scientists, not necessarily Nigerians, but are looking at opportunities to solve specific problems in our country. When they address those problems through their works, they need to be rewarded. if that happens, we believe that there's an opportunity for Nigeria to be in the trajectory of the kind of development we expect to see. And that's why we don't own the prizes, we sponsor the prizes.
Okay, why poetry? I asked that question, why poetry? Because in the past, one of the things we discovered at the initial stages is that there were years we didn't award any prize for certain categories because of the poor quality of the entries, either in literary criticism or in drama. So why poetry this year? And I can see it's going to be quite a tough competition. I imagine what Professor Ezegbo and the others are going to decide. Because you have on that list, you have Joseph Ushie, who was with me in Calabar and the University of Ibadan. You have Ogaga Ifowodo. You have James Eze, you know, with Dispossess. You have Remi Raji, you know, is he a professor now? You know, you have Remi Raji on that list. These are very strong, you know, poets, I imagine, you know. Chijoke Amunade is also on that list. These are tested poets. So, but why poetry?
Okay, so like you said, there's a genre. It rotates between the 4 genres. So we can't take it back to do 2 rounds of drama.
Okay.
So it must go in that cycle. However, you mentioned, for all the writers you've mentioned, where we are today, we've knocked it down to a short list of 3.
Now 3, okay.
Now 3. And the 3 works are Memory and The Call of Water by Swede Ageba.
Yeah.
Nomad by Romeo Oriogun. Your Crib, My Qibla by Sadiq Zukogi.
Okay, these are younger poets.
3 young writers. So
yes.
You are not qualified this time, even if you put in an entry, so to say. So we are
focusing on the younger generation.
No, I didn't determine that.
Okay.
From a long list of about
11.
200, and actually, we had 287 entries. We had a long list of 11. And the long list of 11, we had a book reading in Lagos about 3 months ago. Now, from that long list of 11, the judges have come down to a short list of 3. There may be a winner, there may not be a winner. I don't know, but we see what happens tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So let's talk about tonight. What's it going to be like? You know, what is happening tonight? Are the awards being given out? What are the speeches to be made? I understand Chief Olusegun Obasanjo will also be there and all of that. And what should people look at, you know, as regards the future of this prize? Because it's quite a stellar one. I mean, I saw the impact in the lives of Jude Idada, for instance, the last winner, and a couple of other winners in Nasara in the past. You know, what are we looking at?
So tonight, basically tonight is about touching the stars, which is the theme, to celebrate people who have past winners, but most importantly, the winners for tonight, for the prize for literature for 2022. And I say celebrating stars because indeed it's an evening where, apart from the keynote speech by the president, former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, there'll be a speech by the managing director of NLNG to just touch on specific subjects around why we do the prizes. And if there's going to be anything new, if you know, Ruben, for Prize for Literary Criticism, the prize money is ₦1 million.
Okay.
Would there be an increase, just like we've had over the years, from $20,000 to today $100,000? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but we should expect something about what's going to change about the prize in one of the speeches, most likely the speech by the president, by the MD of NLNG.
Today's focus is on poetry, literature.
Yep.
What of science? Would that be a separate event?
No. So, the Grand Award night focuses on presentation of prizes to all the categories of prizes that we have. So the prize for science, which was announced, winner was announced 15th of September, the prize will be presented today to the joint winners. But the climax of it all is when the announcement is made for the winner for the prize for literature. Okay,
let's talk a bit about science. Who are these joint winners and what's the research work that is being honored?
Okay, so we have joint winners, there are 2 of them. We have Shehu Ado and Muhyiddin Oyekunle, who have done a piece of work, research work on gains in grain yields of released maize. It helps to cultivate, when you cultivate maize under drought and well-watered conditions, you get a higher yield. Now that addresses the issue of food security and sustainability, which is a theme for the Prize for Science in 2022. So they will have an award. Now, they have an award in the sense that that award, if without $100,000 will be shared between that group and the next group that I'm going to mention, Sheson Ayodeji and Emmanuel Olamitola. They've done some work, in this case, not just research work on crop yields and multiplication, but they've also, this group, the second group, has done some work around development of processed plant for plantain flour. Now, it's a scalable model they've done of how you can improve beyond just planting to processing, highest yields on one hand, and of course, the opportunity to replicate and mass produce that invention to be able to produce process plantain. So those are the two joint winners. Each group has two, but that $100,000 will be shared by the two groups. It's not, each group doesn't get $100,000. That's what it means. So that we awarded tonight.
But for literature, one person takes...
One person.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so where do you place this prize, in the grand scheme of things, in the ranks of prizes in the world? Where do you see the prize in the future, like I asked before?
Okay, so we started from ground zero to where we are today. We have had our writers published not just locally, but internationally. I think the focus, starting from Nigeria, gradually moving to Africa, I see opportunity not just on the prize money, but on the prestige of the prize for Africa. I see opportunity in beginning to improve on the entire value chain of publishing and writing. What has happened over time is there's been remarkable improvement in editing, in the quality of print that we get, and of course, on the long term, on people who read these books. Where do we see the prize go in the future? We see it competing not just in terms of dollars and cents, but in terms of prestige and recognition globally. As Nigeria prize today, but who knows, African prize for literature, African prize for science. There's an opportunity, and a lot of work is going on in the space of what we can do to not just improve the prize, but see it go beyond where it is. Again, like I said, we are sponsoring the prize. We're not owners of the prize, and we'll continue to do that. We see it as Nigeria's biggest and best intellectual export to the rest of the world.
Okay, maybe you could comment a little more on the impact that it has made. Okay, which part of the original purpose was to increase writing, to compensate talent. But do you think you've really had that impact, considering the larger environment? Universities have been shut down for 8 months. There are no special grants to promote creativity either in literature or science. But for Nigeria NLNG, yes, it's a good way of giving back to the community. Can you speak a little more on this real impact? But we're still doing literary criticism in the university. What's the quality? Some of those genres, there's no fecundity, real productivity.
I think one of the things I see as key, if you look at from the days where you were part of it, the number of entries have increased. What that means is that the number of writings works have also increased. What that has also done is that in the entire process, you have more editors, you have more people publishing, you have more people writing. So I believe that to a large extent in that community, there's impact. We've done some book readings over the years in so many parts of the country. There's a lot of interest. There are questions around what can be done, what should be done. I also think that it's beginning to position our writers. You mentioned Judy Dada.
Yeah.
Wada Ikpadeola was one of them. What that has done also is to project sorry, I'm so sorry. Tade, wherever you are. Tade, I'm sorry. So that has also pushed. So two things here. There's an increase in the number of people, and there's an increase in the number of people who write, who get published. editors who edit, and of course the marketer. So that for me is key. And of course, we really look at it in terms of impact. I'll be selfish here for NLNG. It means that we are really, really helping to build a better Nigeria. In that space, for us, it's something that we've identified as becomes part of the equity of our brand, which is key for us also as an organization. Who knows? Who takes it tomorrow?
Okay, thank you very much, Andy Odeh, for joining us. And, great work you guys are doing, sustaining an important contribution to society.